And there you have it, Orry and Zach. I think these are two players who also have a pretty good sense of humor, Nits. I could see some messages to the chat on YouTube chat here with some funny, non-words arranged on their rack. We saw Josh Sokol arrange Josh Leg on his rack last game. Maybe we'll get something like that in this game as well.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all. So I think the players are just waiting for the go-ahead. They're just looking around. I think we should, the game is starting just right about now.
Here we go. Orry going first and Zach to respond. So let's see what Orry plucks from the bag. I'm pretty sure, try to get you the records of these players. In the early going, it's almost premature to bring the records for these players because we are at the very start here. This is a 31 game event. So looking at the scoreboard this early is a good way to lose focus on the task at hand, which is winning each game that's put in front of you.
Oh, I absolutely believe that. You have no idea how the tournament is going to go. And honestly, Orry's word knowledge is nothing to scoff at. I know we were talking about Zach's just right about now, but Orry has picked out what would appear to be very unhappy tiles. But right away, instantly, within 30 seconds, he has Vibist on his rack set up. He's ready to go.
That would be a great play. So he's going to see Vibist. That looks like the most points he can get. It is worth considering from his POV. If he wants to play shorter, he could play something like Ivy, scoring many fewer points, but leaving slightly better letters. Oh, wow. And he pulls a fast one on us, Nits. I thought he was going to play Vibist for sure, but Ivy, the play for Orry.
Keeping the T for the Ivy hook for later. Very smart.
Yeah, that's right. So he's got that T. Ivy also a very difficult play to overlap. That V in the center makes it very difficult to do much with it. It's kind of hard to score, and I'm pretty sure that Zach is either, well, I was going to say he's going to consider playing Joy into the Y of Ivy, but actually it looks like the way he's arranged his tiles, he's thinking of the less, the more obscure hook of Jivey. That could be a great option for him here.
Absolutely. I don't think Zach Ansell was about to miss the J hook to Ivy. I think he's just calculating the odds of like what his leave is, whether this is a good play or not. The thing with having a V on your rack as you start your game is it's likely to, hinder your opponent's plays because they're harder to overlap. It's harder to get points. So, I mean, it was very smart of Orry to get that V down, and now Zach has that Joy down. It's going to be harder to play through these tiles.
Yeah, the other thing I like about Joy from Zach's POV is you can see he had this S on his rack right here. And the nice thing about that is he could have potentially imagined that he plays Joy right here. He still does have an S hook alongside the I of Ivy, but now he has such a better one with Joys. So not only has he gotten rid of the J and Y from his rack, he set up a nice place for his S. Orry looks like he's potentially getting set just to play Bow right here. That's going to leave him phenomenal tiles for next turn.
Absolutely. I think that was very smart on Zach's part. I mean, he couldn't have known that Orry had an S. There was nothing to give that away. So for Zach to play just Joy and keep that S, really smart move. Unfortunately, despite how friendly these tiles look, Orry does not have a playable bingo. So yeah, I do like that. I really do like that play of just Bow. Perhaps he's thinking of Bod instead.
Oh, that's interesting. So playing the D, even though it gets him 2 extra points, keeping the D, which is such a nice bingo tile, it does improve his odds of drawing a 7-letter word, but at the same time, it makes it slightly more difficult to have a hook in this spot. So for example, had Orry just played Bow, Zach would be playing something like Chimp right here, making Bop. But now the only hook that Zach has is the S. So if he wants to hook that play, he's going to have to use up his S, which means he's almost certain to not play in that spot. He's going to go a different direction. I don't know, Nits. That seems sensible to me, but I would be so tempted to keep that D.
I mean, it's a difficult choice now for Zach because even if he does do chimps, if he does use that S there, he's going to put a lot of letters out into space, a lot of floaters for Orry to just play a bingo. We already know he has friendly tiles. So, I mean, I don't mind Bod, but I do think Bo would have been preferable here.
Yeah, just imagine that K, instead of a K, is a D. Now, instead of a non-bingo, Ori would be looking at potentially playing idiots with all these overlaps with a buy. So sometimes those tiny little differences end up mattering a lot. I wonder, is Zach getting set to play Psych through the Y?
Ooh,
That would be an interesting play.
that's nice.
It uses the S, and I just wonder if he's going to use the S, I might be tempted to pluralize bods instead of play through that Y. But we'll see. It's an interesting idea. Psych setting up the O hook, which would be a lot of fun to see go down.
Oh, that would be fun. The thing with Psych, though, is I mean, it's a really stylish play, but I'm not sure if it's better than getting the points from Chimps. It's okay. So Chimps is definitely a little bit more dangerous. It's got the floaters. You don't know what Ori's going to come back with. It could lead to a triple triple through the sea. But I mean, there's a point at which early in the game you kind of just want to get the points and get ahead. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a really good point. I don't know. I mean, I would be so the idea that's being suggested here is Chimps right here scoring 37, which is nothing to sneeze at. The thing that worries me is Ori's last play of Bod. This looks kind of strong to me. This looks like he has 4 tiles that he likes, and I would be reluctant to open a triple lane after a play like that. So I don't know exactly what I would pick instead. The crazy thing is there's a nice spot to overlap going down right here. And Zach even has an eye on his rack, but there really isn't a good overlapping play there. Something like hip, even though it scores 29, it leaves him with CFMS, which is definitely
Ooh.
not that likely to become a bingo in short order. So yeah, I don't know. This is a tricky one for Zach. Let us know in the
How
chat
about
what you guys think.
Right. Chat, what do you guys think? But in that time, do you guys also think that Posh might be a good play making joys? Because, well, he does use that S and he does keep very yucky looking tiles, but he's still scoring pretty well. What do you guys think?
That looks like a more responsible way to cash that S than Sykes. Ultimately, Chimps is a pretty solid play. It's actually the play that the engine likes the best. Anytime that Ori doesn't have anything devastating through the sea, it probably works out a little bit better just on the basis of scoring 37 points, which is the most that Zach can get here. So even though it's a little bit scary, I definitely feel like that was a really solid play from Zach. It takes a little courage to make it, and Ori is going to have some decent responses to it, but nothing devastating.
Absolutely. And coming at this move, I mean, it's very easy to see the C on the board and think, okay, well, I have to put the CK together. They have such great synergy, but Ori's not going to fall for that. He's already identified his highest, I think one of his higher scoring moves. What he's lined up is Kith, Kithe, through the H in Chimps, and that's going to score him 44 points and keep AES. That's a really good move right here.
Yeah, it looks like he spotted it very quickly. For those pointing out FICOs in the chat, I don't think that's valid in the North American dictionary, just for the record. I thought that only takes an S in the Collins dictionary, so I don't think that was an option for Zach. I like this play a lot for Ori. He sets up his S hook, and if he can dodge Zach having a really nice hook to this, like a D, because this is a verb, then he's going to come out really well with 44 points and a very good S hook on the board that Zach can't really do much about. So nice play by Orry for sure. And back over to Zach. He's drawn the UW combination. It's not something we ever want to see.
Oof. He's going to have to get rid of that somehow. Either get rid of the WU together, get rid of the W itself. He's looking at a W, so I'm thinking maybe perhaps he's identified WAP, W-A-P, making W-O and A-D. I wonder if that's what he's thinking about. But you definitely want to get that U away from that W. You really want to get that off of your rack.
Yeah, for sure. So the spot you're pointing out right here looks nice. Of course, you can. He has an A, Zach does, so something here could also be possible. But I think he's got enough other tiles that I guess it wouldn't leave him that great of like a bingo leave, but at least playing the W and one vowel gives him slightly better balance on his rack heading to next turn. So he goes ahead and plays this. Maybe slightly better to play the O, but actually I think the O has a lot of value. He's probably eyeing this spot, the only vowel that goes alongside the K. Zach's hoping to keep that O and follow up with something even stronger next turn to the triple. That could be what he's thinking here.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point. If we were to just statically evaluate his play, we would think that, oh, you should keep your A as your rack leaf. However, in this case, because he has such a nice hook for that K, it makes sense for him to hang on to that O and not use it. And back to Orry, the poor guy, he still doesn't have a playable bingo on this board, I don't think. I'm really not sure what he's supposed to do here. I believe maybe fishing might work. And then when we do think about fishing, what does fishing mean? It means playing off 1 to 2 tiles and keeping a really good rack leaf, tiles that are really synergistic and are likely to result in a bingo next turn. So it might be the case that he's looking to undouble his A and undouble his L, perhaps as simple as playing CAL from Chimps. That would score him 17 points. It's not a lot of points, but it's something. I mean, it does what it wants him to do.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a weird situation though, right? Because he now has two hooks to Kythe on his rack in the D and S. So I think by far you're absolutely right. The best thing that he can do here is use one A and one L. And the best place to do that is right here with Cal for 17 points. But in the process, he obstructs his best bingo lane. It's going to be next to impossible to actually get a bingo down in that area. So will Orry look to sacrifice points by playing something like Lack in this spot for only 11, giving up 6 points, but preserving this massive spot where if he hits a bingo starting with S or D, the resulting bingo is going to score so well in that spot. I really don't know what I would do here. It feels so tempting to leave that spot open. This.
Wow. Okay. First of all, great spot. Second of all, that is not intuitive at all because you're looking at the board and you're trying to think of where am I going to score the most, right? So spotting Lack already, like really, yeah, that's great insight. But I do think that Zach is such a formidable player that he is going to see that means something. He's going to know that CAL is a word. He's going to know that LAC is a word. He knows that Orry is not going to miss that. So what does that mean about the hook to Kythe? And I think he's going to want to block that in response.
Yeah, so he must have thought a lot about not playing the play that he just did, but I think he's probably assuming that when he does get a bingo down, it's I don't know, the board is not that great. So now he has saluted on his rack, but it's not actually clear that that is going to fit anywhere. So maybe he has Aldist and 2. Okay, so never mind. So he did draw a bingo that actually plays, which is going to be difficult for Zach to block, but he did run the risk of drawing a 7-letter word that wouldn't actually fit on the board after Cal. That being said, I do feel like it's the safer choice, and maybe he's reasoning that after Zach's next move, a lot of the time, a play like this will come down if Zach has an O, and that would give Orry another lane to potentially play a bingo. So you got to remember the board after your opponent's next move isn't going to be the same as what you're looking at the end of your last play. So Orry's patience is about to be rewarded, and now we're going to see after Fino, Orry will play saluted, making overlaps there, almost certainly very fast.
I like that Zach actually chose to play Fino instead of the info that he'd initially set up, just because I think he's trying not to give back as many hooks. We do know that the eye would have allowed more tiles to play in that spot. Of course, he couldn't have seen saluted coming down FE being a word. But I think Zach was pretty strategic in that decision.
Yeah, I agree. It's a little bit more difficult to play bingos. I guess a lot of the same bingos play, but it's tougher to end a bingo with an S. That's the key thing about Fino. So you're totally right, Nits. And Zach's rack has gotten a bit worse. Fino seemed like it was headed in a positive direction, leaving ER and then a U, but you see the two I's and another F find its way onto his rack, and now he's going to have a very difficult decision.
If only we had the Bacchic cry of frenzy here, but we do not. In this case, I think Zach is well positioned to just play to the left of saluted. It does mean, however, that if he plays something high scoring, such as rife, which is a common English word, he's going to be stuck with IOU, which is not something you want in this lexicon. I mean, already these tiles are pretty yucky, but in this lexicon specifically, it's even worse to have these leftover vowels as compared to, say, for example, the international lexicon. So, I mean, Zach's going to have to really think this one through, decide if he wants to just dump his vowel somewhere, perhaps with Louis, the L with the L in saluted. I don't know, but he does have Rife lined up here.
Yeah, you just hate to make a play leaving IOU blank, but at this score, it's going to score 34 points playing here, and Zach really cannot get any other score like that in a different location. The other thing that's nice is that this is the only realistically open triple word score. So by playing there, you prevent Orry from doing so as well. So there's defensive merit to using that spot now. Let's just hope for the sake of the game that Zach draws some really nice consonants and some good stuff out of the bag, because as we can see, Orry is on the verge of blowing this open with that beautiful draw he's had.
Oh my gosh. He really lucked out with that one. Oof. Okay. Well, okay. These tiles are pretty nice by like anyone's consideration of good tiles. Would you, in this instance, just drop that X to make facts? Do you think like that is something you would consider doing here?
Yeah, this looks really nice. The rest of the letters are quite strong. Pretty much any good bingo tile is going to lead to Orry playing a bingo on his next turn with those nice letters. I think Orry is going to be hard pressed to get away from the play of facts. I'm not even sure what he would do if not for that. The only other plays that look at all reasonable to get rid of the X are plays right here, which don't really, they kind of needlessly open up the triple to Zach. Not that it's that easy to hit your X, but more importantly, they score 6 fewer points and use up an extra good bingo tile. So Fax definitely seems warranted for Orry. You can see the way he's holding his tile. I think that is what we're likely to see here. There he goes, Nits.
Yeah. I mean, the chat has brought up an interesting issue here, which is that possibly there's not a lot of places to bingo on this board. So does Orry actually draw into and then play a bingo on this board? And that is a good question, because in that, like in that vein of thought, we could actually see Orry doing something kind of crazy and playing BY and BI just to like open a lane for himself. But I don't think that lane would ever stay open. So even though he has these nice tiles, like we can just hope that he's going to continue scoring, even if he can't bingo.
Yeah, note too that among all of the tiles that Orry can draw, which now you're seeing this, I believe, from Zach's POV, but there's a lot of stuff. Orry drew an A. He can now play abrasive through this V. If Orry draws an E, he can play verbiage. If he draws a T, he can play vibrate. Again, he just drew an A, so imagine that this isn't here, right? So a lot of his draws give him a bingo through some of the tiles on this board. It's probably a sneaky good option just to fish that X, and that V, let alone the other letters that are open on the board, are surprisingly useful for him to get a bingo down. But over to Zach, Nits. This is a pretty gross set of letters that he has.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so even before we get into the Zach rack, I gotta say, like, analysis like that is why we pay you the big bucks and why you're the president of Scrabble. So just like putting that aside, Okay, so Zach Ansell's rack is every player's nightmare, because what do you do with this? You're not going to score more than like 15 points, maybe like maximum like 20 somewhere with these. It's just horrific. I have no idea what he's supposed to do. Like something like outgive through the V. Is he gonna? I mean, I don't know. I really don't know with this one.
Yeah, this is brutal. There's no question about it. There's no play available here that's going to make you say, oh, yeah, this is awesome. I'm so pumped. I'm Zach. I'm a former school Scrabble champion, and I'm pumped that I made this play. Just kidding. I don't think that's his running monologue anyway. But in any case, he's definitely not going to find a play that makes him too happy. You said outgive through the V. That's at least it has the merit of burning through a lot of that clunk in one go. Another idea would just be to play outgo right here, scoring literally only 13 points. And you see he's arranged that on his rack down there. As sad of a play as that is, it may actually be his best option because it's kind of nice. It doesn't hook easily for Orry, and it gets some space open on the board that didn't exist prior. So outgo, as frustrating as that is to make, that might be it for Zach here.
True. That's a good point. And we've spoken before and we've heard before on these streams that when you're running behind, you kind of want to open up the board. You want to give yourself the space to eventually draw into and then play a bingo on the board. So this is a decent move as any.
Ooh, he jukes us, though. I gave him his points already, and now I have to go back. I think he's going to end up playing that, but just for the sake of, accuracy, I will undo his play, and we'll wait until he decides. I mean, this is the classic. Look at his body language, right? He's not happy about this play, exactly as we were mentioning, but there's nothing really better here.
Right.
Yeah, we'll see what he goes with. Yeah, I think he's going
Oh,
for
okay.
he's going to go for Ogive here. Interesting
Interesting.
choice. This is kind of an in-between option. It doesn't really go as hard as possible for turning over all that clunk. Keeps OUT on the rack, but it doesn't open quite as much of the board. And maybe he's worried about Orry having something really good. Now, the crazy thing is that makes Orry's life much more difficult. He was probably ready to play abrasive through this V. Now, Orry only has one playable bingo on this move. We'll see if he spots it. It's through this G. That's not something that Orry was likely considering going into next turn. So I think Orry's going to spot it. Let me know in the chat if you all see it. Nits, what do you think? Is Orry going to spot his only bingo here?
Ooh, okay, that's a tough one. Well, okay, if I was Orry, I think I'd start looking through the G first, just because I already have so many vowels on my rack. I'm probably unlikely to look through the O, and I know that if I'm going to play something, it's going to be likely through the G. So this is a matter of Orry going through the alphabet. This is quite likely that he's going to start with, okay, A, B, C, D, and then he's going to permutate through each of these, see if he hits something familiar, and then all we can do is hope that he finds it. But I do think there's a strong likelihood that he will, just because of what the blank tile is.
I agree. That's a great point too. That's where his eye is going to be drawn. That G in the center of the board, because of how many vowels that Orry has. So that's probably where he's focusing right now. Maybe he's at least giving some thought to, do I have something through this O that hits 2 double word scores? It could be the case that he sees Biggerade, his only 8-letter bingo and only bingo period, through that G right now, but he's spending a little extra time just to make sure he doesn't have anything better. And look at how he arranges his letters. No surprise that a player of Orry's caliber has spotted his best move here.
Absolutely. And I think the point about looking for words for the O is, when we study words for Scrabble, we do tend to do them in chunks, like vowel dumps and consonant dumps and most probable. And seeing something with 2 A's, an E, an I, and an O with a B would be quite distinctive. And I think it'd be actually faster for Orry to find a word there just because it would be such a vowel dump. And I think it would set off his recognition quite quickly if he were to look at that rack. And I think the case with Brigade is like, okay, it takes him just a few more permutations. And yeah, I think that's what it might be. I don't know. I mean, Orry can just tell us at the end of the game.
Yeah, this will be. I'm guessing he saw this play very quickly and he's just looking for something better, especially because when this play does hit the board as it's about to, you can see it creates a big S hook. And I don't think he wants that. I think at this score, he would love to make a move that doesn't give Zach such a powerful lifeline back into the game right here. Of course, that is his only bingo, so he has to go ahead and make that play and hope that he can beat Zach to that next S, which in all likelihood is going to make a big difference in this game. Zach, meanwhile, his tiles are absolutely terrible, but he does have one nice play, which he probably was thinking about already because he has the rack agouti. He was hoping for an S in just the right spot so he could play agoutis going all the way down. But
Ooh.
he can now play that word right here, opening up more space on the board. And look at how quickly he spotted it, Nits. I'm impressed.
Absolutely. I think, though, that this is a case of one of those games where your opponent is just consistently drawing really nice tiles. And Zach doesn't know this, but after saluted with Orry drawing Bigger 8, and now he's drawn another set of really great tiles. There's only so much that Zach can do in this game. Right now, he's going to score 26, even though, you know, he could have had a bingo had there been a floating S. As far as we can see, Zach is playing to the best of his abilities.
Yeah, totally agree. Really hard to look at even a single misstep from Zach's POV. I really love the way he's played. The O-give turn was one of those turns where it's really hard to come up with a decisive, that's the best play answer. And wow, look at Zach's draw. This is a huge swing. So right when it looked like Orry might be able to deliver a knockout blow in this game with one more good draw, Zach has drawn beautifully with that S and blank, and he's going to be playing something with bigger aids almost certainly. I can't imagine how Orry is going to block it here unless maybe he'll opt to play something like Aper in this spot, really crippling the hook as much as possible. But even then, I think Zach should be able to figure out a bingo that plays in that spot.
Ooh, I really like Aper because, I mean, it does give Orry a chance to just take away these floaters that he obviously could have been worried about. He set it up in his rack. I think we're going to see it down coming on the board pretty quickly now. And he does keep a really nice leave of CEN. We know that more 8-letter words start with C than any other tile. So this is, I mean, I think this is a really great move to put on the board.
Yeah, it makes sense. Really limiting the damage that an S can do. Note, too, that there are a lot of plays that Zach can have with an S that aren't even bingos that would hit really hard, right? Something with a Z and an S here, any play that goes down like that is going to score just like a bingo. So Aper really does a good job cutting those off. We know that Zach's tiles are so good that there is no stopping him, really. He can play something like Sordine or Secondi in this spot. So no matter what Orry does, he's going to get hit, and a lot is going to hinge on Zach's next draw after he bingos. Is Orry going to draw terribly? Maybe he'll draw the Q with no U, and will Zach draw something good? He could find a way back into this game faster than any of us really expected.
Okay, so this is the part of Scrabble that I enjoy the most, which is the volatility of it. You really can't call a game early. I mean, you can try, but you really never know what the opponent is going to do. You never know when a triple is going to come down. You never know what the tile gods are going to do to you. You could be completely reigning, and then you could just lose. And Orry is going to have to, contend with the bingo coming down, and who knows what his draw is going to be. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's really strongly considering Aper here. The thing about it is, if he's willing, so for us, this looks totally sensible because you're trying to limit the damage of this S. But keep in mind that a play like Taupe in this spot is really strong from Orry's POV. He keeps two even better bingo tiles behind, the R and the A. He would be holding on to those instead of using them, which greatly increases his odds of getting a bingo on his next turn. So we know that Zach is going to bingo on his next turn no matter what. But if Orry chooses to play less defensively and more aggressively, he might increase his odds of getting a bingo on his next turn that allows him to stay one step ahead of Zach. So that's likely what Orry is thinking here. And his clock is starting to dwindle down into a bit of a dangerous zone, Nits, with this much game left to play.
Ooh, that's a good point. I mean, he's already spent about 4 minutes on this turn. He's getting ready to put Aper down, but I do wonder if he's going to pivot and go with Taupe, because it's hard to deny how great the tiles CRANE are, which is what he would be keeping if he played Taupe. So I mean, I can't fault him for playing Aper. It's a really good move.
Yeah, I mean, it's really stylistic. Orry, I do think of as being a very risk-averse player, which makes a lot of sense because he is so strategically savvy that he knows that he can beat most of his opponents on very tight boards, on closed boards, as long as he can remove that volatility from the board, which he's trying to do with Aper here. But Zach is very likely to have spotted all different types of options. I think it would be very surprising to not see him play one of his 7-letter bingos starting with S. He's going to at least think of which one of those he wants to play. You can see he is down by 100. Even though he's going to score 85, he can expect to be down a solid amount on Orry's next move. And wow, entrance at least getting set to go down for Orry through this A. I'm not sure if there's anything better, but a great draw for Orry, picking up another R after using one with Aper there.
That is crazy. He's really gonna bingo bongo his way out of this game. So I mean, okay, so if either Sordine or Second D were going down, which one would you prefer? Because the way that I see it is, if you put Sordine down, it's still got the S hook, I imagine, in this dictionary, but it also puts the I right next to the triple letter score. And, you know, you can put a Q there. You could put a QI there for 60 points. Or you could do Second D, which is a lot more defensive. What would you do here?
Man, great point. So playing Sordine right here, as you're saying, this places the I in this incredibly dangerous spot. I think if I'm Zach, I like that. I like creating scary spots on the board at a deficit. I think I need as many of them as possible to potentially make my way back in this game. I think it's kind of an annoying spot. Maybe the problem is there's a lot of other good scoring tiles that you give away to Orry that not only block the queue, but also score a ton of points while you're at it. So, man, I don't know. It's tricky, really tricky. I think I would prefer Sordine just because not only are you getting this big Q spot, you're also getting an S hook, which you are not with Chagti. So that's my gut, but I could easily imagine that creating all of that counterplay for Orry is actually counterintuitive. So he is going to go ahead and play Chagti, which I mean, I really defer to the player's instincts on this. It makes a lot of sense that you would want to avoid making those big spots. And now Zach just needs to draw a bingo before Orry, but we know that's not going to happen here, Nits.
Absolutely. That is tough luck. That is tough luck. I wonder why Zach is not picking up his tiles yet. I wonder if he is on hold. We are in the WoW division right now, so the challenge rule is a double challenge. So if Orry challenges the word, which he's not going to, as he's putting down entrance, we would have found that the word was valid, and Orry, I believe, would have lost his turn.
Yeah, for sure. So that makes sense. Not wanting to risk playing anything you're not absolutely sure of. Let's see what Zach draws here. So far, so good. Love to see that Z. and well, some other decent stuff to go with it, but I'm not 100% sure where the Z is going to go down for a great score on this board. Maybe he'll figure out a way to make something happen with that Z. But
Yeah, this is tough.
yeah, let's see if the Q finds its way onto Orry's rack. It's still lurking in there. Oh man, good letters for Orry to
Oh, that is
start.
it. Ooh, okay. All
Ooh, all
right. The
right.
W
Things
back again.
things went south for him there. The Q is still lurking, so it could definitely play a role here down the stretch of the game. Um, but yeah, Zach with that Z, I think he's going to be trying to bingo here. So the Z, as great of a tile as that is, doesn't really help you achieve that objective. So I do expect him to try to use the Z as fast as possible and try as much as possible to draw something miraculous that's going to fit on this rapidly closing board.
Absolutely. Well, we do know that Zach needs volatility here. We do know that he needs to play kind of like a little aggressively. He needs to get his chance to get a good high scoring word down. So this might be a little crazy, but what are your thoughts on playing Lutz, Lutz, all the way at the bottom right of the board, making Li? That is so dangerous. But what do you think? Will, you are muted, so
Oh, thank you very much. We had another cough and sneeze shielded from the YouTube audience. Thank you, Nits. To your point, Lutz is a very, very aggressive play. It often works out poorly for you, but if you can somehow dodge anything big through this Z, maybe you motivate Orry to spend a very small number of points or relatively small number of points to block it somehow, and then maybe you bingo through this O. Maybe that's the pathway. Just want to point out that in the chat is mentioning that entrancement is a possible play that Zach might be able to get here if he keeps MT. And I have to say, these letters are very suspiciously put off to the side on Zach's rack, and there are E's and N's that he can get here. And look at that. Oh
oh
no.
my gosh.
Azuli, that's a phony. Orry is playing it slow. He's going to hold. It's going to get
Oh
challenged.
no.
Ah,
That was an instant challenge.
okay, so that is a really clever thought by Zach. I think he was very likely keeping the MT on his rack together and trying to use the rest of his letters. The word he picked to play, though, is not valid. Just lazuli, not azuli. So tough one, Nits. I think he had a lot of logic behind that play. It's just the word he picked is not in our dictionary.
That is tough. I mean, it really does look like Orry is set to win this game, especially now that Zach has lost his turn to score with the Z. That is going to be rough. That's going to be hard to come back from unless something like miraculous happens.
Yeah, I think Orry is going to feel great about seeing that. And now he's going to play just whoa on top there. The nice thing about this is he's keeping great letters in case he draws the Q. He's setting himself up very nicely to be able to handle that Q if he should draw it. Maybe he's thinking about being able to play choir or who knows what else. But I wonder if he just missed playing Owie right here, Owie. That scores a little bit better and it keeps some of the good tiles for your Q still. Either way, solid play by Orry, and Zach is going to be set back quite a bit here.
That's tough. That's really tough. I do think that Zach has the option of playing. Well, okay, this would block his entrancements thought, so I don't think he's going to do it. But if he were to do Lutz underneath entrance instead, making EL, I don't think there's a possibility of him doing that right now. Because entrancement would be awesome if it came down.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best play that keeps that stuff would be kind of weird. I mean, playing something like Czar here is a play that keeps your chance of entrancement alive. That play would not have made sense prior to Ori's play of Woe. And look, Ori's about to bingo again as he
Jesus
really
Christ.
puts the game away all the way here.
That that was instantaneous. I mean, that was just rough. I mean, it's a 68-point bingo. He was already ahead, and now he is shooting forward. That is a score of, I believe, like 400 something, 450 to
Yeah.
305. That's going to be. I don't know how. I don't know how Zach is going to come back from this without something like entrancement and a bingo.
Yeah, there's just not enough tiles for those possibilities at this point. Yeah, I mean, as I was saying though, Czar would not have made sense for Zach to play previously because he wouldn't have wanted to obstruct this O of a Guti. But after Orry's play of Woe, that starts to maybe be more realistic to play something down here. The O, blocking the O doesn't matter. It's no longer a viable lane. So maybe that was Zach's play there. Either way, he's fished his Z, which makes some sense. There were probably some bingos that he could have drawn holding, I guess he just drew the H, so holding the rest of the letters on his rack. But yeah, this one, the score now does not show how close this game was throughout, Nits.
Absolutely. And I think Zach has really been doing the best that he could with the ties that he had. There was the unfortunate phony that was instantly challenged off, but I do think that Zach was strategic in playing that phony. With double challenge, it's quite difficult to ascertain whether your opponent is going to challenge or not, because the likelihood is that they might not. There's a likelihood that if your opponent is not 100% sure, they're not going to take the risk of losing their turn. So he was, like there was some strategy there. And I think it's really up to Zach to decide if he's going to get rid of that M to get a few points, or if he's going to stick to his plan, keep the MT together. He does seem to have the letter still put away to the side, as you mentioned previously. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think he's likely to just play something like in this spot, even though that doesn't really do much to open the board. At the very least, it does leave him in good shape to handle the Q as a potential draw. Instead, he plays Hail. I wonder if he's going for a very specific draw here that maybe he thinks would catch Orry off guard. I would not be surprised. Oh, maybe he's still trying to draw entrancement here, which we know based on
Oh,
Orry's tiles, that's not happening.
is there another? Oh, yeah, there's no more ends that Zach could draw, right? Okay.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. Oof.
So yeah, so Orry with the Q, but where is he going to play it?
I do wonder if this is the kind of situation where it doesn't really matter if Orry gets Q stuck, or
Yeah.
if there's a way for him to set himself up for a Q stick. I just don't know if Zach is going to be able to slow play this should there be a Q stick. And win, I mean.
Yeah, I think the score gap is just too much for a Q stick to reflect in the outcome of the game. This is Orry's game at this point. He's just up by enough points to weather it. But yeah, it's tricky to try and come up with what he can do to even get a chance to play it. It just feels like the tiles that he has, and what is he even going to do? Could he just play? There is one A. We know it's on Zach's rack, but maybe he can play just his T right here. And then if he draws the A, he'll at least threaten a place to play cat. Either way, he's going to play edged, which, right. Okay. So that is playable here. Edged makes sense. So yeah, there doesn't give that much upside for playing off his Q here, but it scores a few points, and maybe he'll pluck an A or a U from the bag, and that might get the job done here.
Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to, I believe, pull that. But I mean, Zach now he's stuck with the V, I think. And kudos to Orry for spotting that pretty creative play, by the way. I mean, that was unique to be able to find that with a D being a blank. I know that once a blank has been designated as a letter, it can be easy to look over it. It can be easy to make those ED words, and that was really smart of Orry to be able to spot that. It wasn't exactly the clearest of hooks with the D being a blank.
Right, that's true. I myself seem to have a lot of blank blindness sometimes where the letter that the blank is, I somehow space out on it. But in any case, Ori playing that, I think this is, oh, sorry, not Ori. It looks like Zach played that. Hold on, what just happened
I'm
here?
very confused because I just saw go down and then I saw that go down.
Yeah, I'm confused too. Um,
What just happened?
well, I think
There's no way
it,
Ori passed, right?
I don't think so. This is confusing. Maybe we'll maybe we'll just have to see from the players afterwards just to get the score right, but it certainly seemed like is there. Oh, Ori passed. Okay. So Ori is
Wow.
maybe hoping that he gets a shot to play his cue somehow, but Zach was not going to let that happen.
Oh
Okay,
no.
so Ori passes. Let me get this right. And then Zach plays this. And okay, we're up to date now. Zach getting a
You
bunch of
know,
extra points.
you know what's really, really cool though? I mean, the pass happened so quickly that we didn't even see it, and Zach got his word down like so quick. Oh my gosh, it was ridiculous. It looked like he played and then there was no amount of time that passed, and then that was on the board, which means he had obviously seen both the moves. He knew what he was supposed to do. I mean, that was really cool in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And you can see he's got a really low amount of time, which is part of the reason that he played so lightning fast. But oh, look at that. And Trancer, that's funny. Or he's going to challenge this.
Oh my gosh.
Zach has no real reason not to try this just for fun. So Ori playing TE for 11. This is not going to be a valid word, so they'll come back, and Zach is going to lose a second turn. This one nowhere near as impactful as the first one. But
Absolutely.
yeah, just for posterity, we'll make sure the score is right here. I think maybe Nits, him playing that phony is going to make it tough for him not to go overtime on his next move, though.
I think so as well, especially, well, wow. Okay, so they are passing so quickly. Ori had a playable move with his N, but he didn't go for it. And now he does. Now he does.
Oh,
I'm a little
wow.
confused by how this game is going.
Okay, so Ori passed. Maybe we'll try to cut to the board just to hear what they have to say about that wild finish here. Um,
All right. So I got you at 336 plus 19, 355. That's not what I have. Wait, sorry, what do you have? Is the final score? My final score? 380 to 488. I was just trying to. Oh, sorry. 380 to 488. Sorry, that is what I have. Oh, okay, cool. Sorry, I misadded. I couldn't write down stuff quickly enough. Your rod takes a D. It does. I feel like it did. I don't. I wasn't sure. I wanted to play like Misdone there, but it's not. It's a tree. Oh, okay. I think I would have left it. It felt good to me. So. I was looking for just for double nines. I only saw like passions from there, but I didn't see anything. Yeah. I thought you had an eye, which is why I played this. I missed tracks at the end. I was definitely stuck. I was super stuck. Yeah. Yeah. I figured I would just keep the time pressure so you couldn't plunk one at a time, you know. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely could have played that game better. Not that it mattered to the outcome, but I had more time that I didn't spend doing stupid turns that didn't matter. Well, you're right. They blocked the only Q spots. Yeah. Yeah. I was fishing for entrancement. I had MT after hoping for last remaining. That's cool. I didn't think of that. And I usually that's the first thing I think of when something's in the triple lane is how to get there. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I was thinking of Azuli. I could have left this open, but it was just too big. Was it take an R? No, but it takes a D and an S. And I had D and S. I had deals, DEALS, but I couldn't just leave it another turn. You probably cover it. So. I mean, yeah, I'll probably have played like E-Crew if that was still open. And it turns out, I mean, you gave me a bingo, and it would have been here, but I actually had oldest to the.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I have so many turns. I think I just played poorly this game.
Yeah, if you played out go, I've got a Bricia. It's
Yeah.
just a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I
matter
have
what
no,
you did,
I have
I was
no
gonna-
idea what to do on the 2. GUYOT is good.
Sorry.
GUYOT is
Yes.
good. Yeah. That was another one of the options I was considering, but I just didn't like leaving 3 vowels. And that doesn't give me a whole lot to do on this board anyway.
And I might have to dangle the E and triple if you do that. I didn't see anything other than bigger rod, whatever that is. I saw 7s. Bigger.
Yeah.
Matthew just messaged me and he said bigger rod with the star. Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, Aerobia. Let's see.
Yeah.
Airbase didn't go, and I saw Airvise, so nothing through the O. And then that was my only bingo, I think.
Yeah, it's good on you for finding it. I didn't know it, so I didn't know if it took an S or a D or anything.
Yeah, for some reason I just thought that was a verb, but it's just not.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to go back and watch the stream, see what they think, because I know they're gonna hate what I do. I won't say it.
I had Vibist.
Not true, Zach. Not true.
Keeping a Y for 30, but this kept BITS, so I kept my T for Tybee, and of course you punished me, so.
Yeah. I mean, that was the perfect thing for me. I leave.
Yeah, I gave up points to get punished, and I was like, oh, this is bad.
I mean, I leave like CIMS, and like I'm like, okay, yeah, that seems pretty damn good. Set the M, set up the S, set up whatever else. Yeah. I had no idea to do this turn either. I'd left an F.
Those were good tiles. I was like,
Yeah.
I was pretty happy to see that come down. Like, not to mention you gave me more back for not so great.
I was considering just playing like Psych here for 30.
Where? Oh, SYKE?
PSYCH.
SYCH. Let's see. I had a good rack. It was Ekiest, so this is SEA.
Yeah.
And so Psych would.
It doesn't give you anything, no,
Doesn't
but
give
like,
you anything.
or it gets you Psyche stuff.
Which is still,
Psyche and Psycho are
it gives back too much.
Yeah, so I didn't want to do that.
It drops your ass. Yeah,
I mean, this drops my ass too. This is still 30. Like,
and Chimps seems fine.
Yeah.
You can play like Kosh or something.
Yeah, I looked at that, but like the stuff that leaves me are not the synergistic. No, so I have to use the H. I have to use probably the M or the P. Like,
I definitely had some tough turns. I mean, this was.
I was wondering what happened.
That was
there.
Braxy's. Was my it was crazy good, but it included a blank, so BAI
Exurbia too
blank
as well.
So I'm like, I just gotta do that.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
And you just blocked abrasive. So pretty much every turn I was just like bingoing anyway.
Yeah,
so it's pretty tough.
There are plenty of people that have played this game much better than I did. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, you flashed me the entire rest of
Yeah,
your rack there,
I know.
so I
I
was
didn't
like,
want to
okay,
do
he's
that.
got out.
I didn't want to do that, but like, I just didn't.
Just
How it
couldn't-
goes,
just
just
couldn't
terrible.
go. Yeah.
Like, and so is Ojai, but like still, like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough turn.
Yeah, I need to go back and rewatch this and tackle it and whatever.
Well, maybe we'll cut back to the booth now and just let Zach know that he actually played this game extremely well throughout. He just had some really, really tough decisions. The fact that he saw entrancement, I think, was super, super impressive. And really, Orry just drew a lot of good tiles. It was always going to be a difficult road for Zach with the tiles that Orry drew, Nits.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. I think the Thony being a hiccup down the road, but up until then, Zach was playing extremely well. I think it was just a case of some confusion when he did play Azalai instead of the real word there, which is Lazuli, the gem. But it could really happen to anyone. These words are, a little weird. There's a reason why we have people in the chat asking, hey, what does that mean?
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, you could see our next game maybe about to get started soon after that very informative post-game discussion by these two players, it seems like they literally saw pretty much every relevant option in that game. And when they chose something different than what we expected, they had a pretty good rationale for doing so.
I love that about the post-game analysis because it really does give you an insight into what they were already thinking, what they already knew, and then we get to see them interact and kind of just break down the game as they were thinking of it. Like with Orry being like, "Oh, I wonder if I would have had a bingo if you did play psych," or like you kind of flashed me your entire rack when you did this. And I love the camaraderie. I love how chill they are. I love how they just talk about the game as if, well, I mean, it's not a heartbreak, it's kind of just like oh, fun. You're my friend and I get to play a game that I really enjoy.
Yeah, for sure. And I also think that a lot of the time, players are mostly competing against themselves to play the best that they can. Of course, you want to be responding to your opponent and making adjustments when necessary. But I think Zach and Orry both are just doing their best to make sure that they played that game to the best of their abilities. So in any case, that was a great game. A lot for us to dive into there. But we've got an amazing one coming up in round 5 between, you see him seated right there, Joey Kravchik on the left going first against two-time defending World Cup champion Jackson Smiley. He's about to sit down, but we need just a moment to reset the